friends, welcome back to my channel, MBC Lifestyles Diary. My name is Marie. I live in New York and I love fashion, travel, and cultural events, and I'm asking you to join me on the adventure. It's February. I always call February the longest month. Yes, I know it's leap year. It only has 29 days, but it's February. I've had enough of winter. It's cold, dark, and dreary. And then you get little pieces and the promise of spring. And then it gets cold and dark and dreary again. And you're like, I can't take it anymore. Why am I not at St. Bart's? But since we're not, we have to make the best of it. And I've had a few pleasant surprises. So on a dreary day in February, my husband looks at me and goes, oh, let's go get something to eat. Sounds good. So I rattle off our usual spots. You want this? You want that? He goes, no, I'm in the mood for Indian food. I'm like, okay, this is your puppy. You handle it. Where are we going to eat? And he goes, well, we passed a few spots on Greenpoint. We said we'd go back and try them, but we couldn't remember exactly where they were. So, of course, we took out our phones, Googled, and we had 3 restaurants to choose from. So we took the one with the highest review. The one with the highest review had the corniest name, and it sounded like it was going to be terrible. It was called Bombay Grill. We passed in front of the storefront. It looked, be sure? Oh yeah, but the reviews say it's fantastic. All right, fine. So we get out, we find what I call Doris Day parking. And what that means is parking directly in front of the spot. Because if you ever watch old movies and you see Doris Day driving her big Cadillac into Manhattan, she always finds parking right in front of the building. So hats off to my friend Ed, who gave me that, coined that phrase. So Doris Day parking, we're right in front of Bombay Grill. Like, okay, can't judge a book by its cover. We walked in, the waiter greeted us. We were the only couple there, got to choose our seat. We sat by the window and we looked at the very extensive menu. Of course, we had tikka masala, we had curry lamb, we had naan. So I was in the mood for lamb chops. I was in the mood for the tandoori lamb chops, which is like a roasted lamb chop. But they had their special touch to it, and they sprinkled it with pomegranate. And I was just like, well, that looks delicious. And then, of course, we looked for the samosas, which is like this puff pastry that's usually stuffed with meat. That's kind of usually like. But this restaurant only offered the vegetarian samosa, and I was a bit hesitant. But hey, this is an adventure. We ordered the vegetarian samosa, and then my husband, being all wild and crazy, looked at the waiter and said, what should I order? The waiter goes, you gotta have our signature dish. Lamb rag? I don't remember, but it's a lamb dish. The meat is kind of torn and saucy, and it's spicy. And then he said, would you like bread, meaning naan? And my husband immediately ordered the garlic naan, and I saw the sweet naan, the naan that's filled with fruit and nuts, and I never find that. I always find plain naan or garlic naan. So I was over the moon. So I had my sweet naan, or as it's known. And he ordered a mango lassi. I was just drinking water. And the first thing that came out was the samosas. They were delicious. Then came the main entree. My lamb looked delicious. My husband's dish looked delicious. The rice, cooked to perfection. And of course, our naan. And we should have, eaten half and brought it home, but it was so good. We ate everything. I felt like a kid. I wasn't counting calories. I wasn't worried. I was just like, oh my God, like I haven't had Indian food in so long. The spice was just right. My lamb was cooked just perfect. It was nice and tender, and I liked the pomegranates on it. Heaven, heaven. So when you have a good meal, when you're pleasantly surprised, you are just in such a good space. You're just relaxed. And they bought some black tea, and they bought this dessert, which is like these cottage cheese balls that they fry and put in a honey sauce. Yes, I know, it doesn't sound that delicious, but they were. And it was just the right touch because they were light and airy and not too heavy. This was great. And my husband had said, let's head to the Brooklyn Museum. And I was like, we were just there. Let's explore something new. I think I saw a gallery, an art gallery when we were parking, and the exhibit looks amazing. It's just drawing me in. It's this big blue painting in this white space. So I was like, okay, day for adventure, day to explore. So, and it was right there. It was on Greenpoint. I'll write the name of the street, but it was right there. So we just turned the corner, and it was this big building. And then I noticed as I was walking that the building, part of it where the gallery was white. And then right next to it, there was a very elegant space that was black. And on the very simple word, Ilis, I-L-I-S. I was like, oh, I wonder if the gallery has a restaurant attached, because that's definitely what it looked like. But it was so elegant, you know, especially coming from Bombay Grill. You're walking past this, and my brothers and I used to say things, and the kids, we talked about money, you know, like you just felt the crispness of it, you know, just the perfume of money was coming off these buildings. So I proceeded to the gallery, and it was called Faurschou. So I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, because they are from Copenhagen, and it's spelled Faurschou, I think. But anyway, so we walked into the gallery, and there's a young man and a young woman sitting there. Very elegant space, very minimalist, very contemporary. And I'm like, what is this place? They're like, this is a private art museum. And I looked it up, and that is what they state. They're a private art museum with a collection from artists that they support. So they provide this exhibition space, and they also promote publications on the artists that they collect. And they also claim to have an extensive loan program so that these works can be seen everywhere. And they're based in Copenhagen. They have this space in New York, and I think they also have a space in Venice. And I was fascinated. I still wanted to call it a gallery, but I didn't see prices on the work, so I have to take them at their word. It's a private art museum. So then there's a barcode that you scan, and it tells you about the artists that are exhibiting. And so we proceeded to go into the first gallery, and that artist was Tracy Emin. I think she's an English painter, and her work was about, she entitled it, "The Exorcism of the Last Painting I Ever Painted." And it was about a very traumatic experience that she had, that she punished herself as an artist. Okay. The next room was by an artist called Bjarne Malgard. He is from Norway, and his work was entitled "Barney Does It All." And he was basically an artist that had a huge studio in Bushwick. And he gave it all up because he felt that to make money, he was commercializing himself, and therefore he felt more like a prostitute than an artist. He also had a drug addiction. The man had a whole bunch of stuff going on, and he used his art to express that pain. So I was kind of standing in these galleries and I was like, whoa, whoa. I'm running away from this dreary day, and I just had a fantastic meal at Bombay Grill. This is a freaking bummer. And then I was like, well, what did I expect from the Danes? And then the last room, the room that drew me in the first place, this big, beautiful white space with very strong, large, colored canvases, and these sculptures made out of glass or mirrors in different shapes and sizes, and with different sound coming through. When you entered the room, it was a whole sensory thing going on, and it was called Scar Tissue by Donna Hunica. And her goal was for you to be totally immersed in this, to be here in the moment, for it to leave a memory, to scar your retina so that you can be present, so that you can understand what we're doing to the earth, this acceleration of chaos and damage. I was like, oh my God, what a downer. But it was beautiful. It was beautiful, with a message. So here we are with contemporary art, which is very much a personal artist statement, a testament, an expression of their grief, of their pain, of the mental turbulence, or their concern for the world. So I was kind of like, wow, bummer. No. So even though I go on and on about art elevating and so good for you and, exposure, I was kind of like, let me just kind of protect myself because, this February has been difficult. So, sometimes hard to step into other people's trauma. But somebody else, it might help. It might help to see that they're not alone in the struggle. It might help to see the expression, the expelling of these feelings. It's another form of expression. It's another art form for a person that gravitates towards this. But hey, I was open. I walked in and I found a new spot. And part of in their collection, they have some pieces from Yoko Ono. Ai Weiwei, I think. I can never say his name correctly, but I had just seen his exhibit at the Brooklyn Museum, and some other European artists. So I will keep an eye out on them. The end of exploring the space, which was immaculate, very soothing. I went and I spoke to the person at the front, at the entrance, the young lady. And I was like, so is the other half of the structure, is this a restaurant? Is it affiliated with this space? And she goes, no, it's a restaurant that stands on its own. But the owner of this space, Faurschou, is Danish, and so is the chef that opened Illis. He is also Danish, and he's a celebrity chef, and I think he helped establish Noma. I was like, fascinating, because it looked gorgeous. And she goes, yes, and they kind of interconnect because some of our $1 million pieces of artwork hang in his restaurant. And sometimes when people are done dining here at that restaurant, they come and they look at the artwork. Or after viewing the artwork, they are then interested in the restaurant. So I was like, oh, okay, because it looked beautiful from what I could see outside. So I went on and I looked at it. And the concept is there's no front of house, there's no back of house. The kitchen is central in the space. And you either go for a tasting menu, which is $295 per person, or you go for the prefix menu, which is $195 per person. Yes, I too loved those prices. And what is this restaurant known for? Of course, locally sourced foods, foraged food sources that are like wood, oven roasted, quality. The only thing is that their caviar is imported from Serbia. So very interesting. And of course you can go, if you can't afford those prices, you can go sit at the bar and have a drink and maybe taste something. The menu is always evolving. So I was like, how interesting. And I'm like, yes, those luxury high-rises on the water have definitely changed the environment here on Greenpoint, which is still a very interesting mixture of new and old, because Greenpoint was never that happening. There was no train that went there directly from the city or anywhere else, actually. And when I was growing up, Greenpoint consisted of these 2-3 family homes, and it was basically a Polish neighborhood and also a Puerto Rican neighborhood. And honestly, they didn't get along. So I kind of avoided Greenpoint. And suddenly now to see it, that there's this much luxury, because it's not just this spot, but there's also another restaurant called Esme, and some other places. And everything is so crisp, and the people that work there are so pretty. And you can walk by and there's this structure that's taken over 4 or 5 family homes, and now there's a huge luxury building. So I'm in the thick of it, guys, of this transformation of New York, where even the outer boroughs and even a place like Greenpoint is transforming before my eyes. But I feel like it's quiet luxury, unlike Williamsburg, which already has the rep, and I don't even think they have such fancy places as Illis. But I'll let you know. If you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up. Remember to like, follow, share, and subscribe.